Hi there. Welcome to the first part in our franchise fundamentals series where we give you a high-level crash course on everything to do with franchising, from how franchising works to how to evaluate specific franchise brands and do your due diligence, all the way up to scaling and how to envision whatever model that you're really looking at and seeing what that is going to take to scale it to be ultimately what you're looking to build it into. My name's Steve Rossioli, and I'm a franchise consultant. So I built my first business to a 7-figure revenue in less than 3 years, which I then franchised. And since then, becoming a franchise consultant, I've helped match hundreds of franchise candidates to specific brands that really matched with exactly what they were looking for, both in terms of their business goals and ownership and lifestyle that's associated with that. Today, we're going to start with the basics. What is a franchise? How does it work? And what are the roles and responsibilities of both the franchisor or the parent company and the franchisee or the local unit? So, what is a franchise? Now, let's think about this on a really high level. A franchise is a mutually beneficial relationship between the parent company or the franchisor and an individual who will be a franchisee. Now, the reason why it's mutually beneficial is because from the franchisor's perspective, they're able to take their business model and scale it very quickly and efficiently, leveraging the ownership and finances of other individuals. For the other individuals, they're benefiting by being able to engage in business with an already proven business model, right? You also get training and support, and you're able to leverage the experience of the franchisor to help streamline specifically the startup phase of your local business and help mitigate some risk. So here's how it works. It all starts with the franchisor starting a single location in their local market. So that individual will build the business, hopefully making it successful, right? And then once they're developed into a business model that has systems, support, and training, they can then scale the business model to other locations. Now, that's where a franchisee will learn exactly what the business model is about, see if it's a good fit for them on a high level. Assuming that it is, they move forward and purchase the rights to operate under that brand name. So that is what you're purchasing. You are purchasing the brand name, and with underneath that hood, you're purchasing the systems, training, and support to streamline your entry into that industry. So one common question that I get asked, really with brands that are more of a simple nature, like say painting. I get a candidate, they say, okay, well, why would I not just do this myself? Why would I purchase the rights to a franchise? And it's vitally important for you to know, if you're starting a business on your own, I promise you don't realize how much goes into the actual development of the business, especially from the beginning. Using the painting as an example, yes, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to actually apply paint to the walls, but that's not where the money is made in painting. Where the money is made in painting is being able to come into a customer's home, visually look at everything, and give an accurate estimate with a competitive price that will both make you money as well as being competitive with the other estimates that are being given to that prospective customer. So even if the actual even if the actual service is more simple in nature, I promise the business model is going to be more complex. And yes, you can do it on your own. This is not to say that you can't start a business on your own and be successful. Obviously, that's ubiquitous. People do that all the time. But you really want to pay attention to what work you are going to have to take on to figure out the issues, the hurdles, the obstacles that you're naturally going to run into. Okay, it's life. You're going to hit those things. But if you're doing it on your own, you don't really have anyone to go to. You have to figure it all out on your own. But when you're in a franchise system, every single issue that you will face, I will guarantee the franchisor has experienced this either themselves in their business or one of their franchisees, especially if they have a really large system. your problems are not unique and they know exactly how to figure them out and solve them in a very efficient manner, and you get to leverage that support that's offered from the franchisor. Now, I don't want to get too much into the weeds since this is a more high-level video, but this is especially true when you think about more of the high-level scaling and growth aspect of the business. You need to know your metrics, right? And these franchise systems, they already have softwares in place to analyze your business on a very numerical basis and give you exact suggestions in terms of what your best marketing is, how you think you can scale to the next level, whatever the case may be. The franchisor is really going to be able to help take you to that next level because they already have those pieces in place to help you scale that business. So now let's talk about roles, and we'll start with the franchisor or that parent company to start. So the franchisor, their primary responsibilities are to A, develop the actual model, B, provide all the training and support to get someone who's completely green to the industry to be able to be proficient and then successful within it as quickly as possible, and then support them along the way. And then finally, to ensure consistency in brand quality. So as a franchisor, when you bring a franchisee in, you have to look at them with a level of risk assessment because they're a representation of your brand. And if you have neighboring franchisees in a local market and one is really good and one sucks, it really sucks for the person who's good because now they're having to battle the bad reputation from the neighboring location. So the franchisor's role is to make sure that all brands are performing to standard, and that's the whole point because you have the whole system working together to really mutually build each other up and help each other out. Now, the role of the franchisee is a little bit simpler. It's just to operate the business and manage it in your local market. So, yes, you're doing the dirty work in terms of having to manage the day-to-day to some capacity. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be you managing the day-to-day, and there are plenty of franchise systems. In fact, the majority of franchise systems are built and designed to work yourself out of the day-to-day management of your business. So there's almost no franchise system that wants you to be the technician. You will be managing the business, but ultimately the goal is to build you up to a certain point so you can scale yourself out, put a general manager in place, and make your business what we call semi-absentee, where you're really managing the manager and they're handling the day-to-day. But that's it. You really don't have to worry about anything else besides maintaining brand standards, making sure that you're following the guardrails that the brand put up, and then paying your royalties and fees, which is associated with being a franchisee. And we'll talk a little bit more about what those fees are in a later video. Now let's talk about how these roles work together in this partnership that we call a franchise relationship. So I guess to start, we'll go over the benefits to both parties. So for the franchisor, their benefit is that they get paid a royalty. Okay, so they get paid a percentage of your top line revenue, as well as every other franchisee in the system. All franchisees pay a portion of their top line revenue up to corporate, and that's how corporate eats. That's how corporate makes their money, right? So corporate has a vested interest in making sure that all of their locations are performing at max capacity, because ultimately they win when you do more. If you're only doing 100,000 in sales where your market is supposed to be producing 1 million or more, the franchisor has an opportunity lost because they have a market that they're not capitalizing on completely because you're underperforming. So if a situation comes like that, the franchisor is going to want to step in and say, hey, how can we help you? How can we support you to elevate your business to getting it up to what we believe it can do in this local market, and then some, because they win more when you're doing more in revenue. And I want to highlight one thing here, and that's in terms of why the royalty is off the top line revenue and not on the bottom line profit. A lot of people who are new to the franchising space say, well, the franchisor doesn't care. They're getting their piece no matter what. And yes, that is true. However, they're thinking about this long term. Okay, think of yourself as the franchisor system, right? In order for you to grow and scale into something huge, you need to spend a lot of money putting systems in place, different marketing agencies. You have full-time people at corporate who are offsetting a lot of the work that a local franchisee, if they weren't in a franchise, would have to do, like marketing, analytics, things of that nature. So they're putting all these pillar pieces together. If they weren't vested in the actual franchisees doing well, yes, they would collect their top line revenue or their percentage of top line revenue for a certain number of years. But ultimately, those franchisees, if they're not performing well, they're going to fail, they're going to drop out. And then that kills the royalty stream to the franchisor. So while a franchisor does get paid off your top line sales, that doesn't mean they're not invested in your profitability. And in fact, they are incentivized to make sure you're profitable, because if you are, you're going to stay in business and pay them more over time. So you are their golden goose. They don't want to just rip as much as they can out of you and let you flounder. They want to make sure that you are sustaining and growing and being profitable, because that means you're going to be in business for a longer period of time. Now, the reason why they don't take off of the bottom is because it's business. Think about it in terms of taxes. At the end of the year, no matter how much money you made, you want to try to show the IRS that you didn't make anything or that you had a loss, right? Because you don't want to have that tax liability. Of course, we're doing this legally. But because of how that's structured on a strategic business level, you can make a lot of money and show a loss on your actual taxes. And if a franchisor was just collecting off your bottom, they may never collect off you if you're a savvy business person, and that would hurt them. They can't operate making no revenue. So that's a simplified version of why they take it off the top. But just to give you an idea, because that is a question I get asked very commonly. Now, for the franchisee, the benefit to them is they're in business for themselves, but not by themselves, or they're buying a business in a box. Those are a couple analogies that we use in the franchise space, but it is true, because at the end of the day, you're getting into business. You are going to have to operate the business, but you have a support system that has done this before, not once in a single market, sometimes dozens, if not hundreds of times. They've worked out all the kinks, or they at least know where the pain points and where the problems are going to come up, and they're going to help you see around the corner to prevent you from having to experience those same pain points or issues. They're going to help guide you. And if you do find something that you're a little stuck on, even if it was trained and you don't remember, you have a dedicated support team to be able to go to and really express what you're dealing with. Have them or allow them to step in, take a look, work with you to help solve the problem, and ultimately set yourself up for success. Again, having that consistent support system is really what you're paying for in a franchise brand. Now, a quick side note in terms of franchise industries, because that's another common question I get asked is, are there only franchises in food or fitness? Because that's the common ones that people know. And in fact, that is entirely not the case. Franchising exists in virtually every single industry you can think of, from, obviously food and fitness, but also home services. Every home service that you can think of: HVAC, plumbing, painting, spray foam insulation, roofing, patio work, concrete, asphalt, garage floors. All of that, they all have franchises that are in those industries. Business services like commercial cleaning. I have a brand that does industrial hydraulic hose repair. What a niche industry that you would never think could have franchise potential. They do. Testosterone replacement in the health field. You name it, there's a franchise that's within that industry. So don't limit yourself in thinking that franchising is only in the food franchises like McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts, or in the fitness franchises like an Orange Theory, Planet Fitness, things of that nature. If there's an industry, there's a franchise that's in it. So if I was to give one key to success as a franchisee entering into a franchise system, it's really to understand that you are given the playbook, right? The brand is taking the hyperboreal horse to the water, but they can't make you drink. They can't make you execute on the game plan. And ultimately, that is where the money is made in franchising. Can you follow the systems that the brand has put into place? They've already tested and proven. Can you follow those instructions? If you can, you have a good likelihood of seeing some level of success, probably some decent success. And if you don't, it's 50-50 and you could fall flat on your face, because That's the whole point of why you're joining a franchise system, is to leverage these systems that are already in place, not to do it on your own. If you want to do something on your own, you want to have the freedom to do that, go start your own business. Don't look at a franchise because you're not going to benefit from it. And also, you're probably going to do less well than if you just did it on your own, because you're trying to half follow a system while also trying to do it on your own. It's not a good situation to be in. So, key to success for being a franchisee is follow the systems and execute accordingly. So let's recap this video. Franchising at a simple level is a mutually beneficial relationship between the franchisor, the parent company, and the franchisee or the local owner. In terms of the roles and how they work, the franchisor is primarily responsible to build the systems, provide the support, and ultimately give the franchisee whatever tools they need to operate their business successfully. As a franchisee, your role is to follow the plan, execute, and know when you need to go and get help or training or support from the franchisor, because if they don't know that you're struggling, they can't help you. So that communication is really key in your specific role. And finally, the success of a franchise system is not one way or the other with good brands. In order for the franchisor to do well, they need their franchisees to do well, and vice versa. So again, it is a mutually beneficial process where both sides have to win in order for the individual businesses to grow. So why is franchising so popular? Because again, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And that's really alluring to people who do want to start their own business, but they're not even sure what industry to get into. And even if they found an industry, they don't know what's around the corner. They don't know what to look out for. They don't know really anything. So to help streamline that startup phase, to have the backing, to have the support from corporate, that is the true incentive as to why you would want to buy a franchise instead of doing something on your own. So if this sounds like you and you're excited to learn a little bit more, make sure to click to watch our second video in the series, which is how do you find a franchise that's a good fit for you based off of your skills, your goals, and your ideal ownership.